we have a great panel here. This is entitled Building an Impactful STEM Career. So if anyone, I'm trying to talk to a couple of you, find out where you are in the education process. How many of you are in a graduate program right now? And for those who aren't, what's your interest? What are you doing? Education. Woo! Sorry. I'm a little more excited than this microphone should warrant. We're going to talk to, as I said, my name is Gretchen Huizinga, Huizinga. I have one of those last names that's difficult for anyone to know how to pronounce or spell. And I've got a panel of competitors here. So I'm going to try to say all of their names. And I'm going to cheat because it's crazy. So this is Carolina Galleguillos. And she's from Chile. And she's a senior machine learning engineer at Google. Pretty cool. We have Laura Chiticariu. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Romanian. She's chief architect at IBM Watson, which is so awesome. And we have Edaena Salinas. She has two last names, but I kept the last one off because she just has the first one on her name tag. And she is a software engineer at Microsoft, again. And we have Eren Manavoglu. The G is silent. So like the Irish have G's that are silent, like Monaghan, it's Monaghan, but she's got a silent G too. And she is a partner scientist at Microsoft, and I don't even know what that means. You're going to tell me. All right, I'm going to sit down. Anthony, if my microphone goes off because I'm sitting on it, you'll let me know. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with questions, and we'll kind of go back and forth. And I put myself in the middle, not because I think I'm cool, but because I didn't want to sit one direction the whole time. Oop, I'm good, right? And so, creating an impactful STEM career. We're going to hear what these women have done to do that. You're all currently working in high-profile, high-tech careers at high-impact companies, right? So, but you all started at academic institutions. Am I disappearing when I put my... Did anyone see the movie Singing in the Rain, where there's the microphone and she keeps turning to the side and it loses all the audio? So my whole idea is now failing because I really do have to face this way or move my coat. I'll just look here. So starting off, what would you say were the one or two most important career-enabling things that you did in graduate school that you got from your professors, your advisors, or your committee to help you go about getting what you needed? I'm only looking over here because you can't, you know what I'm saying? Carolina, you want to give us a start?
Sure. Can you hear me? Yes. I think the two most important things that I got in grad school and really enabled me to have impact later in my career was first my advisor. Is a great person. He first of all, his group also had a lot of women, like one more woman than me. But I mean, he was very straightforward. He always was very clear to me what are the things that I needed. He called me out when my papers didn't read very well, and I was like, but this, I speak Spanish, and he was like, no. This is not an excuse. You have to be, you have to do it right? And so he was very good at that and put me he helped me out to get started with some other people in my team. Which actually enabled me to write good papers after that. And the second thing was that he was really empowered me to meet his network. So his advisor, the people in other other research groups. So he introduced me to a lot of people when we were going to conferences. So that enabled me to meet other people, to get collaborations with other schools. So it was not much about like the actual, school or university that I was. It was more like the team or my research team, that I was in, right? So
Cool.
Those were the two things.
Nice. Anyone else? Again, I'm looking this way so you can hear me. Let's get Eren.
Sure, I'll give it a try. It's working. Okay, so for me, my advisor actually was quite hands-off, I would say, at least with me. He came actually from a 5 year of working in the industry, came back to being a full-time professor. Before that, he was just an associative professor. But so maybe it's because of that, but he would just throw me out there. Whatever problem was there, just, okay, why don't you just get started with this? And I mean, I started working with him. I was just in grad school for 6 months, and he suggested that I actually work on a book chapter with him on an area which I had almost no idea about. So, it was fun. I had to do a lot of things myself. I failed a lot. That first, I think, version of it that was edited by this person, it was full of threads. I had to rewrite it from scratch altogether. I mean, maybe a little bit more supervision, you could argue, is better, but I actually admired that quite a bit. One, I wasn't afraid because he kept pushing me. I thought, okay, so I should be able to do this, right? So, no problem. Otherwise, why would he give me something that I would not be able to do? So that attitude helped me quite a bit at work as well, because you have to be able to do things independently. You have to be able to try things that you haven't tried before and just figure things out on your own a little bit. I would say that was maybe the biggest thing for me that enabled me for later on at work, because even if you're an subject area expert, there are always things you haven't seen before. And you'll make mistakes. You have to deal with that. Yeah.
That's interesting. I want to interrupt because there's that tension between getting enough input from your faculty advisors and or mentors, and also being pushed to do things by yourself, because that's how you learn and fail and learn. And it's in some ways like parenting. You want to launch your grad students really well, and they have to be able to do things independently. So that's cool. How about you? Do you have anything to add? You don't have to answer all the questions, because we can move on and have this be more organic.
I think my advisor was somewhere in between. She did push me, but she pushed me gradually. For example, she did not tell me, okay, your first paper, you're going to write it all from the beginning to end. You're just going to start with the related words section. Then you can write the experiments. So I think another thing that she was really good at is actually encourage me to take positions over the summer in the industry, because as an academia, you get to see one kind of type of project which your advisor happens to be interested in, or maybe you have very broad advisor like she mentioned. But to me, it was really important because I got to see what it means to work in the industry and how different it is from academia. So I would highly encourage folks to pursue internships as much as they can.
Yeah. Edaena, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just have a quick thing to add. One thing that helped me was this professor, the way he would structure the classes fostered a lot of communication. So we would we would read papers about robotics, and then in the class would begin with each person saying some highlights about it, some questions that they had. So everybody had to speak, which make you feel like your opinion is important and valuable, and just being able to hear from people from different perspectives. So that certainly helped, because it's very important in a work environment, particularly in research, but also in the industry.
I'm going to ask a question about the academia versus industry approach and that. But before we do, and this wasn't on my list, but it's just occurred to me, how did you each get your jobs? I mean, that's an interesting thing. When you are in grad school, you're doing stuff. Even if you're not in grad school, but you want to go into a career in high tech, which is creating one, right? You've got to start somewhere. let's go around and how did you get your job? Any stories?
How do I get my job? How did I? I don't know. So one thing that, she mentioned that I also, through my grad student career, I interned at Google twice. When I was in my first year and my second year. In my third year, I went to Honda Research Institute. So I saw other things, and then things that I liked and things that I disliked. And so by the time I graduated, it was hard because you get used to, doing research and, you publish papers, you get this community that is like your friends. But I think for me it was something lacking there. I really enjoy building things and make it happen. Research was great, but it was so hard to reproduce some of other things. And, there were great concept ideas, but I wanted to make it work. So that's why basically I got to industry, because I think my desire of, making it actually available to other people. So then...
So you're a machine learning machine learning engineer, senior machine learning engineer at Google.
Yeah.
So you're doing hardcore machine learning.
Yeah, well, my background is actually my PhD was in computer vision, doing object recognition. So we did a lot of machine learning. So I knew I want that. I wanted to keep doing that. But I wanted to have an impact, like to reach the user. Yeah.
Cool. Laura, how did you end up at IBM Watson?
Well, so as I did my internships in IBM, at the end of my graduate studies, I knew fairly well that I do not want to pursue an academic career. And I wanted to build things. But one thing that you have in all of these large companies is not really you either do research or you do product development. Most of the large companies, Google, IBM, Facebook, Microsoft, there is a research division where you do hardcore research. So one of the career tracks that people might be interested in would be a research career in the industry. So actually, I was in IBM research for about 8.5 years, first 8.5 years of my career. And at that point, I learned a lot about product development, because in IBM, we actually have a lot of communication with the product development group. Because, we are all commercial companies, so you have to contribute to the bottom line. Even if you do, you can do theory, pure theory, but a lot of research is actually applied research, and the more it contributes to the bottom line, obviously, the better. So there was an opportunity for carrying over the research that I did in the product division, so I just took it, because I could have done research for the rest of my life, and it was, I could do that, but this was different, so I just...
And you know what? You never know, because I've talked to people on the podcast who started out in the product divisions, came over to research, went back to product, and there's this Venn diagram overlap kind of thing. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Eren, tell us your story. Same story.
I think it was my third year I did my first internship at Yahoo. Fourth year I came back, did an internship with another team, and I basically ended up doing 6 internships throughout the year. And, organizers are not aware of this, but 5 years into my graduate studies, I had my master's and I had, start my PhD program. I was about to actually finally give my dissertation, but I got sucked into this data. I do machine learning. So if you are doing machine learning, the amount of data, you had in real life in search, come on, I could not get that with Sightseer data back at school, so I stayed. I actually did not graduate. I plan to go back one day and finally, defend my thesis. But yeah, it's in the end, I am also like most of the ladies already said, I like solving problems, and I really wanted to solve real problems, not, live with the assumptions that you always make, but actually figure out what is the right assumption, what is the right approximation. And for me, Yahoo Labs was a great place to be in because it was somewhere in between, not completely, research with no end or no necessarily anything deliverable, but with a particular objective. And we had short and long-term, basically, research agenda, which was perfect for me.
Cool.
Me, I was also through the traditional internship path, but some of you might be like, well, I'm graduating next semester, like I don't have time for another internship. If you don't do that path, there are other options now, especially for people coming out of the non-traditional background where they didn't study programming or computer science. There's programs called apprenticeships, so you can also get a job through that, or also through networking. If you write blog posts, people can find you. If you speak at conferences, I know people that got job offers because somebody heard their talk. So there are many different options right now, fortunately.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I was actually going to ask a question about, academic versus industry paths and whether you recommend taking one path or the other. It sounds like most of you, all of you, have kind of the same industry applied research bent in what you're doing now. I do know that there is, like I mentioned, back and forth with academic research and so on. But so do you feel like it was a good thing to pick that path on the sort of product side or applied research side? Did you have any tension? And you don't have to give a long answer, but did you ever think maybe I really don't want to be like that accountable to get it in the product 2 months from now? I really want to ask those out there questions in the research that you've done?
For me, I feel that it was important to have the opportunity to get a glimpse of the academic industry. I went to graduate school for a master's, and through that, I was fortunate enough to realize I didn't want to pursue a career in the industry. But if you don't have that option, you're like, well, I cannot pay for a master's or have the time to use that to find out. It can help you to talk to other people about it, but it's always good to try to pursue what you're interested in. And even, I also know people that did a PhD and they're like, I realized I don't want to focus on this area anymore. Like I did compilers for 7 years. I don't want to do compilers anymore. Also own that decision, because you're going to have people tell you like, oh, well, you already invested 8 years and 7 years in this research. Just be more sure about yourself and your decision, and pivot throughout the industry. Technology keeps evolving, so that's going to happen even if you don't know. Maybe you're going to have to pivot your research to something else, but so it's good to have the ability to try things, and if you cannot do that, just talk to other people about it and gather more information that will help you make a more informed decision.
Yeah.
Is what I would say.
Anyone else can add to that question?
Yes, I mean, I really enjoyed both. I mean, I feel that in my position, for example, at Google, I'm sort of between engineers and researchers. So you play that role on bringing, research into products and talking the same language. And then you talk to the same language to the engineers, and then you make it happen. So I feel that I would not been able to do my job the right way if I didn't have both sides.
Yeah.
And I think that not because you do a PhD today, that means that you have to be a professor. But if you want to be a professor, that's great too. I think that everything contributes to, adds up to the person, to be a unique person. And industry needs unique people. Because jobs are not the same as they were before, so I think that's I don't think there is a wrong path.
Right. Yeah. Interestingly, some of the people I've talked to on the Microsoft Research podcast tell stories of having the option at MSR to pursue whatever kind of research they want, and it can lean towards, at least at that institution, lean towards the pure academic research and publishing and speaking at conferences and things more like a professor would do versus other people who are in what they call the next, N-E-X-T. I forget, I just did a podcast on what that means. But that's more practical, applied sort of DARPA-style research where you get the project you're going to do and you assemble the team of researchers and bring to that project. So interestingly, what's your story about that?
So I think, like others have said, it's not really a one path, and you can actually move between the paths. So
Sure.
I know folks who have graduated with a PhD, joined an industry lab. They were publishing like crazy, and after 6 years, they went to academia and got a tenure track position. Because after 6 years, you essentially have done your job, you have the papers, you have the research, and you don't have to go through the gruesome tenure process that assistant professors go through. But I have seen the other way around, where professors got tenure, and because the industry has essentially shut up, they essentially said, in the academia, we do not have enough data and the types of opportunities that exist in a really large company. And they have went to the industry. So I think I have met probably one person in my entire life who said, I can only do this one type of job, and that's it. Like, usually all of us are so curious that it doesn't really matter exactly. You have to be in the ballpark to solve some problem that is interesting and you have some background for or some curiosity. But it doesn't really matter that it's that specific problem or the other specific problem, as long as it's a problem that nobody has solved before. So in general, yeah, I feel like right now it's very fluid.
That's
Actually,
cool.
in my opinion, academia has a problem retaining people at this point in time.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, basically, that in particular, okay, I am older, right? So maybe 12 years ago or so is when I actually started working officially. And the first 5 years in my area, a lot of the groundbreaking stuff was happening in the industry. So there isn't a particularly always a right, basically the single answer that is right for that time or for you or for that field. You know, it's flexible. I mean, being flexible is part of this also. Of course, if you have the question, if you have no doubt in your mind that you want to take one path or the other, great. If you have questions, there are a lot of opportunities to try things. And it's not just 3-month internships either right now. There are residency programs wherever you look. There are postdoc options, of course, and peer research institutes as well. So, take the chance, explore.
I think it's so interesting. I did a podcast with a guy from LinkedIn who talked about the data issue in academia. It's like the lifeblood of research, data, right? And companies have it more for other reasons. They have these big data production machines, but that's where you want to go to some degree to get your data to fund or to fuel your research is probably the best word. Let's talk for a second about accomplishments, because we're not just talking about academia versus industry. You're all working in high tech. You have careers. I want to know what you would say your greatest accomplishment that you've done in your jobs, and it could be even at a company that you worked at before or did something before, since you graduated and started working in high tech. Something you're proud of?
One of the things I'm really proud overall is when I first joined my full-time job, it was in 2014. I was pretty quiet, not super confident, and I was like, well, I'm the new hire. I'm really proud of how far along I came in that, and one of the things that helped was, the team that I was in, there was this senior engineer, and he would ask my opinion, like, Edaena, what do you think about what we're talking about? And then I would say something, and I would start to grow as an engineer, and then to a point where I'm, driving conversations, cross-team collaborations, helping make decisions. So when I look back at my career, that's one of the things that I really value now, because getting feedback, from the team, it really shows how much I've grown in that sense. That's why it's important to surround yourself with people that are encouraging and that you can collaborate with and that have different ideas. So that's what I would say is one of the things that I'm most proud of.
Cool.
Where I'm currently at. Yeah.
Well, so when I joined in the group where I did my internships, and they were doing structured data analysis, which was my field in my grad school. But when I joined, I got my job offer 6 months before I actually joined. Senior management changed, and I ended up in a group that was doing natural language processing. I did not know what natural language processing means. I had no idea, had taken no classes, no machine learning, So the proudest thing that I have, the thing that I'm the most proud is basically learning a completely new discipline.
And get
my
paid
first
to
job.
do it. That's awesome.
And got paid to do it, yes.
Yeah, you didn't have to pay for tuition.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm the most proud of.
That's cool. How about you, Carolina?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that previously, before working at Google, I worked in 2 different startups, and I was able to build and actually help those startups, one to exit and the other one to save, a lot of money and help with their infrastructure by building computer vision and machine learning models in places where you don't have resources, you don't have that many machines, you have few people that can help you. So I think that was, I was very impressed that I could, push through and do it and learn a lot of things from it. Yeah,
that's awesome. Eren?
Okay, so this is a little difficult. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of great, products, problems. I don't think they were just my accomplishments, so listing those seem ridiculous. But I've been very lucky to be part of, first in a lot of things. First of Hadoop users, first model that was built, using that distributed. I'm not talking about Google, but open source stuff. If you think about it, it's those were all great experiences. And of course, also on the business side, being part of a team and being, when I first joined, we were in the red. I think there was probably some, timeline. If we couldn't make it productive by that time, we would probably be dead, is my guess. Being part of the team that actually turned it around and, accomplished, what we accomplished was a big deal. But I would say more and more, of course, I'm becoming more of a manager, even if I don't want to admit it. Building a team, a diverse team, is, I think, something that I am actually quite excited about. I hope I can be successful in that.
Cool. I just figured out that this chair swivels a lot, so I could actually talk right to you. And before we go to question and answers, I want to leave some time for that. I hope you guys will take advantage of these fantastic women here. I do want to address the issue on a recent podcast with a woman from Microsoft Research in Cambridge. She talked a little bit about the fact of you kind of have to have a pioneer spirit to be a woman in the room in this industry. The STEM industry it's not an industry, it's a bunch of them, right? Science, technology, engineering, math. It's an interesting place to be. And so I'm curious, am I stuttering actually? I am. What were your experiences early on, and has it helped you, or have you felt it was a hurdle that you had to overcome competing? Because this is a very competitive field, regardless of who you are, right? It's lots of the best jobs in the world are in these disciplines. And so how would you say you've adapted as a woman in this industry or these industries?
Well, for me, it's not necessarily as a woman. It's more of like as a junior engineer, how do I adapt, in a team with more experts? So one of the things that I saw early on in my team is when you first join, it's pretty well defined what you're going to work on, especially if you're a junior engineer. You're like, here are your tasks, and, start delivering. One thing I observed is how other coworkers would operate, particularly the senior engineers. Is like, oh, they're making suggestions or improvements, and it's not in the backlog, and they're not working overtime either. It's like you find these little times to work on something that the whole team can benefit from. For example, like, our tests take 15 minutes to run. Like, that doesn't make sense in the case of our product. Somebody optimized that. Everyone's complaining about a certain thing. Somebody went out and fixed it. So it was more about observing more experienced engineers, seeing what I could start doing on my day-to-day job. Like, instead of taking, a 30-minute break, maybe I would take 10 minutes, to think of how I could improve something for the whole team. And people start noticing that it's not because you're a woman or a minority or something. It's just you're starting to add value, and then you document those things, you discuss those things with your manager, and you sort of start growing that way by finding ways to add value.
I actually really love that answer, because I think a lot of it has to do with just understanding your place on the ladder, regardless of what gender you are, and being confident in what you do and doing it well and working hard. And those are the kinds of things that, so that's really, really good. Anyone else want to add to that?
I think in the tech industry, so I come from Romania. I don't know if anyone knows here, but it used to be under communist rule until 89, and the thing about communism was that everybody was equal. Of course they weren't, but that means pretty much all women and men would work and be paid about the same amount. Like, it really didn't matter what gender you were. And I didn't really realize that there is a discrepancy between men and women until I actually got to the US, because I did not grow up with that kind of stuff. But I am noticing and my husband works in the tech industry, and I mean, in startups and large companies, there is an effort to encourage women to come and join ranks, and which is good. I think that is definitely really, really nice. But on the other hand, I cannot help wonder whether that makes some certain women feel a little bit weird, because, you have to be encouraged more.
Right.
I don't know. I don't have a good answer for it. I think it's good that we are being encouraged, and I think somehow, I mean, I'm a really shy person. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman or not, but I'm shy, right? So I feel like for me, it's good that someone is encouraging me.
Right.
I don't know for other people how it may feel, but it's definitely good to actively pursue women and to actively try to increase the ranks, because it is true. In computer science, you have way less women than you have in medicine and biology and chemistry for some reason. I don't know why, but
yeah.
Actively trying to, bring the numbers to 50-50, it's definitely good.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything, Carolina?
No, I think one of the things that, that she mentioned is that I never really thought I'm a woman. I was just like, I'm myself. Maybe I was a little bit blind to a lot of things that happens sometimes because you're a woman. And maybe it was a good thing. Maybe, having thin skin and not thinking, this person is doing it because I'm a woman. Just thinking, I love this. I wanna work hard. I'm very passionate about it. I wanna be part of a team that, makes me feel that I'm, having impact. So I guess, being confident. Not really thinking, are they interviewing me because I'm a woman, or because I do machine learning, or because it's two, or maybe because I'm Latina. And if you go through that route, is no, it's because I've been able to, to do some impact, and I hope people see that.
I love this panel so much. I really do. So just from my perspective, I've been on both graduate admitting committees when I was in a university situation and hiring situations. And it's really incredible how a good resume and a good interview rise to the top. So, I mean, you might think that it's stacked against people, but it isn't. And you can see who's good. And so the idea that you're just going to get in there regardless and do the best is, I think, fantastic. So we have some time to have questions for any of our panelists. I have other questions, but I want to open it up to you guys to find out if you have anything you want to get from these women who are working in this career. Yes. Do we have microphone support here?
Oh, cool. Hi. You guys have really like senior titles, and I was curious, when you went into industry, is that what you like went in and said, I want to have like chief or principal, or was it that something that the opportunity presented itself over time? Because that's like really cool to see. Thank you.
No. The short answer is, I think no. I mean, I think like the others before me mentioned, I've always been passionate about just doing the work, solving a problem or whatever it is. If it's your research tool, it's the same thing. So I'm not the type of person, I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't have plans, 3-year term plans or 5-year plans for where should I be in my career, so maybe an odd choice to be in this panel, but that's not how it happened. It essentially happened organically. You grow into roles, you figure out what works for you, what you're good at. You explore also at times. I mean, one thing that I would say for me probably made a difference is that, if someone, asks me if I want to take on a new challenge, chances of me saying yes are pretty high, even if I don't know much about that particular field. Like,
Laura.
in Laura's case was, for me, I picked up, I don't know anything about game theory or economy for that matter, but I'm responsible for running the auctions for Bing As team. At this point, of course, I have a strong group of people who know a lot more than I do, but, over time, you figure out, you have to be open to trying out new things and a little bit flexible on, how you want to go about it, but it doesn't really all need to be planned to get to where, eventually I got to.
Yeah, and in general, large companies and even startups, you have multiple kinds of technical roles. So when you join as a very junior person, you will join into a junior position just doing a lot of technical work. But as you grow in your career, let's say your 3rd year, 4th year, you will start noticing that you like certain more specific aspects of the job. For example, you may like the managing part, and you may be able to lead people into doing and coordinating people into doing things. Or you may be really technical, but 3, 4 years, 10 years down the line, you actually have a very grand technical vision, which you will not have when you're a junior engineer. It's impossible. That thing comes with experience. It cannot be taught in school. So essentially, joining and doing the best you can and thinking about what are the aspects that you like in your job, that will lead you to the next position. And you will be ready when either the next opportunity arises or someone asks you, hey, how about you come join my team and lead that?
I say that it doesn't, names, titles don't really matter at all. Like, it's what you're able to show that you can do. You can be a director, you can be a manager. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You have to just do what you're passionate about. Titles is just a way for, to kind of tell what's the scope of your work. That's what is basically telling you. But if you go to a startup, you won't have a title. A lot of them are very flat, and so everyone is a software engineer.
You could have 3
should
titles.
Or you can be a director. I was a director once.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But it matters that you're passionate about the work that you're doing and the scope, basically, like, that you have and the impact that you can do.
Awesome.
I just had a quick thing.
Hi.
I'm just going to add a super quick thing. there are, like we heard, those two options that where you're sort of not really planning it and thinking it too much, but I've talked to people that have planned it and they say, I want to be managing a team, but then they're like, well, I don't have managing experience yet and I'm never going to get it because I don't have experience. So it's that kind of problem. So this person was like, well, I'll start volunteering. There are a lot of volunteering opportunities for software products. It might be like the library is trying to build a website, or you're managing volunteers for Girl Scouts or something else, and you're getting that experience outside, and you get to validate if you really want to manage people, and then that helps you with your planning. So there's definitely a way to go about if you start planning about it, but it's more about getting the experience and just validating if you really want it or not.
So whether you have a plan or you don't have a plan, you can still be a cool title guy, girl, whatever. We have a question over there.
Yeah, so being associated with machine learning, how much of your time is spent working with statistics and maths?
With what?
Statistics and maths.
Oh, right.
A lot, although this question and answer is going to be vague, but I mean, obviously, in order to do machine learning and applied machine learning, you need to be able to understand the basic concepts of statistics and math, right? So in that way, data analysis is a big part of what at least applied machine learning is about. You need to understand what is happening, what problems exist, what you need to solve even before you figure out what model you are going to apply there, right? So in that way, basics of statistics and math is fundamental.
Anything to add? Stats and maths. I did not know, it is mathematics, right, with an S, but in the United States we say math, but in other countries they say maths. And I started correcting people. I'm an English teacher, and I said, no, it's not maths. And they go, well, yeah, it is actually. So, go ahead.
Maybe I'll try to answer the question in a different way. If you have a statistics background or a math background for that matter, if that's what you're studying, machine learning is obviously a relevant field, and you can't find a job in machine learning if that was the intent of the question. Just want to make that clear. I have a lot of statisticians on my team.
Yeah. Do we have other questions? Yeah. Do we have a microphone? Oh, sorry, there's one behind you that has one. You're next.
I'm just curious as to what decisions drove you to pursue your higher level degrees, because all of you have PhDs, I'm assuming, or you're going to get it. I believe in you.
ABD here.
So I'm curious as to, was it career driven, or was it that your curiosity drove you to continue to get a higher education?
A great question.
I was very curious. I knew about machine learning, and I was like, what is that? I want to learn about it. And the only way at that time was just, you have to go to grad school. And I ended up doing computer vision, which is, still very related, but it was just curiosity. I felt that it was not enough for me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I did my undergrad back home in Romania, and I was working throughout my undergrad, and I realized that I'm bored if all I need to do is search the internet for an algorithm, then implement the algorithm. So then I realized, okay, I have to do something else, otherwise I'll be bored the rest of my life.
So the same with me. I heard about machine learning, and I was like, I need to figure this out. And I picked my undergrad final project to be on a topic that was kind of at least pattern recognition, let's say. But, and I'm from Turkey, and at that point there was like maybe one professor in school who kind of knew something about it, so nobody could help me. So anyway, I figured I should just go figure out what this is all about. So curiosity.
Edaena?
Well, I didn't do a PhD, but the way I got into the master's route was when I was an undergrad, I took graduate classes, and then I'm like, this is fun. And then a couple of semesters in, and after a few internships, I was like, okay, I'm kind of leaning more toward working in the industry. Yeah.
Great. Did you have a question?
Yeah. So it seems like you all really love your jobs, and it you love your positions, and I'm really curious about like how you choose the company you work for, or does that not matter because you're doing what you want to do regardless of where it is?
Also a good question. This is the Microsoft couch here.
Yeah, good to know. For me, it was, well, I was familiar with Microsoft, and I, used their products growing up, and they came to talk on campus. So I was kind of familiar with it and talked to people that work there. And for me, it was a lot about going to a place where I can learn a lot from, very experienced people. They have decades of experience building software. So it's definitely a good place, out of school. There are different routes, obviously, like you can go the startup route. But for me, that's what I valued at that time is there I'll just be learning and growing, how to build software, how to operate a big company. So that was part of the reasons behind that. And prior to that, I did get to work at a smaller company. So I got a taste of both, through the internship and, working at a smaller company. But those were some of the reasons for it, yeah.
About the Bing. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I definitely, I really chose the place I wanted to work because I think every company has something different to offer and then that you can learn from. Like startups, you really learn to do things from scratch with very few resources. I interned when I, almost more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago at Google. And I felt that was not my time at Google. I felt that Google is great, you have infrastructure, you have data, you have everything, but there's so many, smart people here. But I want to go and see other things. I want to help other companies with my skills. And I got to a position where I was like, I'm ready to go back to Google because now I am looking for working with state of the art. I work in search, so I work with so many machines and resources, and there is all these senior people that I can learn from. Right, at startups, you see a lot of junior people mostly, and it's great. You get to mentor them, but it's like I chose Google now because, it's a great place, but also it's because it's providing me what I need at this moment. Yeah.
Challenging problems and people, for me, these are two very important things. Challenging problems, obviously not special to maybe Microsoft. When I say challenging problems, part of it is that I would say any practical problem is probably challenging, but let's say maybe you have to do more than just, okay, let's apply a model here, but something where, the problem space is already mature. Making an impact at that point is actually, for me, more challenging. So I take it as a personal challenge in a way to basically figure out how else can you improve this already kind of working product. To me, that's interesting. And then problem space itself, allowing you to use your skills and then learn new skills as well, that's really important for me. The other aspect is, like I said, the people. In the end, I do spend quite a bit of time at work, physically also with these people, so, if I like the people, it's great. So for me, that was a big part of my decision process as well.
Did you know that before you started there, though? I mean, how do you get to know what tribe you're going to be with?
Well, great question. For me, there were two things. One, my first job at Yahoo was internship, basically turned into full-time employment. Second time, when I was looking for a job, I knew a lot of people in a lot of places. But at Microsoft, I also knew exactly what I would be working at. Unlike in some other places, it's kind of, you may talk to one team, end up in another team. These are stories I've heard, seen. With Microsoft, I knew exactly what it was going to be, who I was going to work with, and I like that group.
It just occurred to me.
Just want to add a quick thing
ahead.
to that. If you're also feel like, well, when am I going to talk to people? Like, when am I going to find a Google engineer? There are more ways right now, and Gretchen knows, like, for example, the Microsoft Research podcast, you can get an idea about what they're working on, what they're like. There are other podcasts, in software engineering. And I know people that have found their job because they heard an interview with somebody and they're like, I want to work with that person and at that company. So there are a lot of ways where you can get access to that. Even if it's not a two-way conversation, you get a sense of, the people at the company, the kind of work they're doing, and that kind of stuff.
Turns out that even in high tech, people are important.
Yeah, so I feel like people are leaving their position or looking for something else when either they do not enjoy the project they're working on, or they don't think they have enough impact, or they don't think they are appreciated, or they do not like the people they work with. So, and this may change over time, actually. I mean, you may end up in a position and things are great for a number of years, but then management may change or the project may diverge, and suddenly you feel your skills may be more useful in a different place. So I think you have to be introspective enough to think about your current position, what are the things you like, what are the things you don't like, and stay in it only, if you are really happy with it, because there are so many jobs out there, it's not good for your mental, sanity to actually be somewhere where you do not enjoy.
Those were great questions, and ones I should have come up with myself. Being a podcast host, you're always looking for good questions, right? Right, Edaena? Yeah. She hosts a podcast too. You guys are rock stars, all of you. Carolina, Laura, Eren, Edaena, thanks for joining us today. I know that we have some food for people, and just a little heads up, yes? Oh, we do? Oh, gee. Yeah, okay, my bad, because I didn't have that. So then we'll have our next panel, which is going to be building a company and failing fast. So interesting juxtaposition of, Google and Microsoft and IBM, like old giants in the tech industry. Now we're going to have a panel with startups and entrepreneurs. Not that these women aren't within their own careers, because that's what it takes to succeed anywhere, is to tackle the stuff that you got. But again, join me in thanking these women for joining us today. And go ahead and take a little break, and then we'll pull you back, and I'll be back in this beautiful white chair with a new group of women. Thanks, guys.